Hi everyone, my name is Amanda and I'm a fourth year medical student.
And my name is Viral. I'm also a fourth year medical student.
And welcome to our channel, Match Made in Medicine. And if you can tell by the name, we met and started dating in medical school.
So guys, today's actually a really big day. We have our step 2 scheduled today and we're actually about to head out and we'll show you as much as we can and let's see how it goes. About to take step 2. Hey guys, so I'm actually on break right now. Got done with 4 sections and it's very similar to your world. 4 more to go. Hey guys, so as you saw, we had to wear a mask the whole time while we took the test. We actually got a call from Prometric just the day before the test saying, confirming our test, and then they let us know the policy of having to wear masks. And initially I thought, walking, check-in, and all that maybe for breaks you would need a mask, but it turned out to be like even while you're sitting at your computer, while you're taking the test in the cubicle, you needed to wear a mask. And that was a little bit of a surprise, but in the heat of the moment it didn't really make a difference. I just had to make sure not to fog up my glasses, and other than that it didn't really change too much.
Yeah, so if you guys are going to take your test soon, then it probably could be a good idea to just put a mask on to take some questions with it, get used to it. Although, like you said, it really didn't affect us while we were taking the exam.
So the test itself really felt like a blur. I can't remember any of the questions. Just walking out of it, I couldn't remember any of the questions. A lot of times I would be left with 2 or 3 choices and really couldn't get to the definitive answer. It was kind of like the way the questions were worded or the answer choices were worded. It wasn't just clear cut. I feel like the regular year-old questions are always more like to the point. There isn't really information that's like up for interpretation, but these questions were more kind of a little bit more vague, and it's probably intentionally because practicing medicine, it's not clear cut multiple choice all the time, so it's probably kind of the thought process in my opinion.
So when I take tests, I usually have a 60-minute window and I'll try to go through all the questions in like 40 minutes. So basically I have 20 minutes at the end, and what I do is I'll mark any question that I'm unsure about at all. So in that last 20 minutes, I can go back and I can kind of go through those last questions that I marked, I wasn't sure about, and figure them out. And on this exam, I really felt like I was able to do that, so I think that at least the time was solid. At the end of the exam, I did feel like I started marking more because the questions were vague, like Viral had mentioned. They weren't really hard, they just kind of didn't really have the best answer that I could find.
So for me, she finishes her test super quick. Me, I like to take time with my questions. I probably, answer it with full thought process the first time around, so that if I ever do have to go back, it's just like to see what it was or something like that. Very rarely do I have to actually go back to a question and kind of redo it. I don't really like skipping questions or anything like that. And for me, I kind of needed all the time that was available to get through all the questions. Um, I For most of the questions, I would say I spent the technical 90 seconds per question time that they give us. I pretty much used that. So as far as the question format on the test, I would say it was most similar to UWorld. Specifically, most similar to kind of doing just 40 random questions on UWorld. The practice exams, they're obviously good. UWorld 1 and 2 were probably the best of all of them. But just doing random UWorld questions, that was probably the best. The free 120, I would say, had a lot of concepts, not necessarily exact questions, but the kind of very similar concepts that kind of kept reappearing on my test.
The MBME practice tests weren't really the same format as our actual exam because those questions are typically pretty short when these ones were actually longer like UWorld is. And as far as the content on our Step 2 exam, I think they did a really good job of kind of being broad throughout all of the specialties. I would say that they kind of overemphasized OB-GYN a little bit. There was a lot that we felt like were on our exams, but I mean, overall, they try to do internal medicine, it seems like the most, and then the rest are kind of mixed really nicely. There were 2 passages that were kind of longer. They had 3 questions attached, and you had to read a research study. So just be prepared for that. Make sure that you're doing those on UWorld as well.
Yeah, and for me, on my psych questions, they're a little bit extra vague. I know I said that earlier, but on UWorld, when I did the psych questions, I was doing pretty good. Like I could get to the diagnosis. It wasn't up for interpretation, but the psych questions on the real test, they weren't always as clear cut.
So we definitely did not walk out of the exam thinking that we crushed it, but it's known that people really don't feel that great after they take the exam anyway, so we're just going to trust the way we studied and wait for the scores to come out.
If you would like us to do a reaction video to us getting our scores, please hit the like button and comment below letting us know, and then make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss the video when we put it out.
So now we'll tell you how we studied during our dedicated period.
Yeah, so studying for Step 2 is a lot different than Step 1 in that your clinical rotations that you're doing throughout the year, they are kind of preparing you for taking this big exam at the end of the year. The work you do to kind of prepare for the shelf exams for each of the rotations, that's also kind of preparing you to take Step 2. During the year, we used online MedEd, Anki, and UWorld to kind of help us with the shelves, and that kind of served as our backbone for all of the rotations and also laid the foundation for our Step 2 exam.
So we took a 4-week dedicated study month, and what we did during that time was our Anki cards. We also did 3 blocks or 120 questions of UWorld daily, unless it was the day that we took our practice exam. As it started getting towards the end of the 4 weeks, we kind of looked at our weak areas and watched some of the online MedEd videos. And then the day before the exam, during the afternoon, we actually took off and kind of just relaxed for the rest of the evening. We didn't end up getting through all of our UWorld questions, so that's okay if you don't finish during dedicated.
We made sure to do all of our Anki cards every day. For those of you that may not know what Anki is, it's basically a flashcard application that has a very good spaced repetition algorithm. We primarily used a pre-made deck. It's called the Dorian deck. You can search Reddit for it. And we started that early in the year when our rotations first started. So that allowed us to kind of keep up with the knowledge and the concepts from, let's say, surgery, which was my first rotation, all the way throughout the year so that I didn't have to kind of relearn surgery when I started studying for Step 2. It helped with any questions attending may ask during the rotation, helped for the shelf exam, and then also kind of helped us stay on top of the material for studying for Step 2. If you aren't using Anki, I highly encourage you to go check it out.
So for our practice exams, we ended up doing 6 total, and the way we set it up was we took a baseline, which was MBME 7. We did that the first day of dedicated. And then because we had our exam on a Tuesday, we decided to do all those other exams on a Tuesday to kind of simulate what our real exam day would be like. So as we progressed through, we had 1 week that we did 7 blocks of UWorld because we wanted to save our UWorld self-assessment 2 and the free 120 for kind of right before we took our exam. We took those on the Saturday before our exam, which was on Tuesday, so it gave us kind of a few days to go over some last minute topics, but we also felt like we had just taken something, we were ready. Since the practice tests are only 4 blocks and the real exam is 8 blocks, we decided to add some UWorld blocks to our practice exams every week, progressing and building our endurance until we got to the 8 blocks and were ready for test day.
So we took NBME 7 first because it supposedly just grossly underpredicts your score and is like the least representative of the real test. And then we took UWorld 1 followed by NBME 6, 8, and then saved the UWorld 2 and the Free 120 for the few days before the actual test. So of the practice tests, I would say that both of the UWorlds and then NBME 8 were probably the most representative or like the most similar to what kind of like the real test was.
I have a study schedule calendar for this dedicated period and for step 1. So let us know in the comments if you'd like us to share these calendars with you and if you'd like us to make a video on our step 1 experience about how we studied and what we wish we would have known.
So now that we're done with step 2, we'll be starting our 4th year rotation soon and then also start working on applying to residency programs. We know things will be different this year because of the virus, so we kind of wanted to take you along on our experience with applying, interviewing with the new virtual system, and then just couples matching in general. So kind of look out for videos on all of that.
Be sure to subscribe to not miss any of those videos.
And thanks for watching, and let us know if you have any questions about the exam, and we'll see you next time.